Good morning, everyone. My name is Macario Tindo Jr., and this is my final presentation for English 5 Critical Thinking under Professor Egbert Shaka Higenyu. Economics is the study of the use of scarce resources that have alternative uses. In the ancient time, the economic struggle is a struggle with scarcity to feed the family. The present economy is driven by information age technology, where companies transition to a larger use of the internet and the activities in the cloud. But why, amid the burgeoning economy, so many Americans are still struggling to make both ends meet? This essay is about the marginal cost controversy, chapter 4 of the book The Firm, the Market, and the Law by Ronald Harry Coase. Ronald Harry Coase was a British economist and author. He was the Clifton Master Professor of Economics at the University of Chicago Law School, where he arrived in 1964 and remained for the rest of his life. He received the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences in 1991 for his discovery and clarification of the significance of transaction costs and property rights for the institutional structure and the functioning of the economy. He was called an unusual economist for the 20th century and highly unusual Nobel Prize winner because his writings are sparse and uses little or no mathematics, yet his impact on economics has been profound. Born in Willesden, London in December 29, 1910, his father, Henry Joseph, was a telegraphist for the post office, as was his mother, Rosalie Elizabeth Coase. He married Marion Ruth Hartung of Chicago, Illinois and Willesden, England on August 7, 1937. Although they were unable to have children, they were married 75 years until her death in 2012, making him one of the longest married Nobel Prize laureates. He died in Chicago on 2013 at the age of 102. He was praised across the political spectrum as one of the most distinguished economists in the world. This chapter of this book deals with the economic principle of marginal cost and how should the difference between marginal cost and the average cost be reconciled. I think it is important to first understand certain economic concept that this essay is dealing. A marginal cost is the cost of producing one more unit of a product or service. Another way of explaining marginal cost is all costs that vary the level of production. Average cost is the total cost divided by the number of goods produced. To state it as an equation, the average total cost is equal to the cost of production divided by the quantity of units produced. When average cost is declining as output increases, marginal cost, the cost of producing one unit, is less than the average cost. If you produce more units, the units will be cheaper to produce and the marginal cost will not be enough to cover the total cost of the product or service. Fixed costs, also known as overhead costs, are not added in the marginal cost, so the marginal cost will fail to cover the total cost. For marginal cost, all that you are looking at is the cost of producing that one unit or service. The economic concept in this article is where there are economies of scale, prices set at marginal cost will fail to cover total cost, and the question is how to cover the total cost. Coase is hoping to solve the problem of optimum pricing, what is to be the system of prices in accordance with which goods and services are to be made available to consumers. Coase suggestions that there are two principles when considering how prices should be determined. The first principle is that the same method should be chosen for all consumers, and the second is that the price be the same for all consumers. He concluded that the amount paid should be equal to the cost of the product so that he can deal with the problem of individual pricing. Early in his article, Coase acknowledges that this question of marginal cost does not exist in isolation and that other problems arise in this situation. The problems which he says usually arise are some of the costs which are common to several consumers. First problem is how to allocate this common cost among consumers, and the second problem deals with fixed cost and quasi-rent. Quasi-rent is another economic term. Quasi literally means cost. Quasi-rent is a payment which is almost rent but not exactly rent. Quasi-rent does not deal with the rental of land, which is permanently limited, but deals instead of machinery and equipment. The concept being quasi-rent is a temporary gain which is earned by a factor of production due to the limitation of its supply. Coase wants to isolate the problem of marginal cost and choose just to deal with the question of marginal cost. He tries to use a simple problem to explain his theory, and he uses this example many times when trying to explain his concept. He uses just this case when examining pricing. When a product is produced at a market, if you sell the market at the product, there is no transportation cost. If you have to travel to deliver that product, there are costs incurred to deliver that product. However, if you deliver more of that product, the cost of the product does not go up, only the transportation of the product. And if you deliver more of that product to the same location, in his example, the cost of the delivery does not go up. Coase believes that the consumer should pay for the entire cost of the product. His solution to how the price should be determined is a multi-part pricing. In his example, he uses a two-tier approach. He states the consumer should be charged to cover the cost of the carriage. Carriage is the transporting of items or merchandise from one place to another, and the second is fee to the product or usage. In his example, what the consumer would be charged for the product is the cost of the goods at the central market. Coase compares his solution with that of other possibilities, which he calls the Hotelling-Lerner solution, which before Coase' article was supported by many economists. The Hotelling-Lerner solution to what the price the consumer should pay is that the amount which consumers should pay for each unit of the product should be equal only to the marginal cost. The government will pay the difference between the marginal cost and the average cost. The government will raise the funds to pay for some type of taxation, and different types of taxes were mentioned: income taxes, inheritance taxes, and property taxes. However, Coase lists three objections to the Hotelling-Lerner solution. Argument number one: consumers are not basing their decision on the total cost of the product. Different consumers are using different factors to make their decision. If the government subsidizes the cost of transportation, then not all the costs are being considered. Example: if someone buys a product in the marketplace and someone else buys the product at a different location, the cost of transporting the product are not factored into the price of the product. This also means the government must estimate the demands of the consumer, and Coase does not believe the government is able to make accurate estimates. Argument number two: using the Hotelling-Lerner method leads to a redistribution of income. If, for the sake of arguments, the government was able to make accurate estimates of the demands of the consumer, how does the government know what the consumer is really willing to pay for the product, since the consumer does not have to pay the total price? If the cost of the transportation is not factored into the cost of the product, then the consumer does not have to pay full price, and the government is paying for the transportation of the goods. Therefore, consumers who live near the marketplace are paying the same price as the consumers who live far away from the marketplace. So the consumers who live far away are getting a subsidy. That is what he means by the redistribution of income. Coase acknowledges that Hotelling discusses this point. Hotelling states, a rough randomness in distribution would be ample to ensure such a distribution of benefits that most persons in every part of the country would be better off by reasons of the program as a whole. Coase challenges this by stating, this argument stands or falls by the assumption that there will be no significant redistribution among consumers of different kinds of products. There is no reason to assume that this will be so. Coase believes that there would be a chance of a significant amount of redistribution of income. And if the multi-part system of pricing would be used, there would be no redistribution of income. Economic development is necessary for any country. An economist ought to know about the economy. Economic theory and analysis must be tested by actual reaction of the marketplace. After all, it's the relevance rather than logic which is in dispute. Thank you so much.